Hello and welcome to another weekly update, and it's one of those kind of weeks at the moment if you're following anything really, because it's Thanksgiving in the US, and that means everything stops for Thanksgiving. Nobody does any work, nothing gets done, certainly nobody's putting out any big new announcements or making any big serious code changes this week, so there's still stuff we can talk about though, as is always the way. But no kind of really big serious announcements, and no serious changes to code, and no big API updates or anything like that to talk about. So one thing that did happen though, relatively recently, is that Microsoft acquired a company that I believe you pronounce XOXO company. It's spelled XOXOCO. Microsoft acquires a lot of companies. That's how they that's how they strategically grow and move into markets. This one is slightly different, I guess. Well, what makes this one slightly different? Well, they're an AI company. Okay, well, Microsoft acquires a lot of AI companies, but the thing they're most known for is a platform called, or a bot rather, called Holiday, which is a very popular Slack bot for scheduling meetings. And they also build BotKit, and they're also responsible for BotKit. And that provides kind of tools for building bots. Obviously, it's why it's called BotKit, and it's kind of big on GitHub, and it's for building Slack bots and stuff like that. It's not specifically for building bot framework bots, but Microsoft has now acquired them. It'll be interesting to see what they do with things like Howdy, whether they keep it on the Slack platform, whether they move it out of Slack and try and port it over to bot framework, whether they keep both going. Microsoft's made no secret of the fact that it sees Slack as a kind of competitor in the communications market. It's a big competitor to Teams in that space, so it'd be interesting to see what they do. I think the most likely thing is that Microsoft will try and take the learnings that XOXO have about building bots on Slack and try and infuse the Teams bot platform and the Teams kind of app store, try and infuse it with new and exciting and interesting new applications. So that is one to kind of keep an eye on. It was only announced last week, so it's going to be a while really. There's kind of a long tail to this stuff before you really start to see engineers committing code in one particular direction or another. So it'd be interesting to see where that goes, I think. All right. Another story. It's kind of a good news story, and an interesting one. So we've said for a while that the way Microsoft does business now is very different to how it used to. The kind of fundamentals that Satch has put in place and the way he's positioning the company has made it a very different kind of company to work with and to work for, and that's all been to the good. But it seems that investors like that as well, and they like the direction that Microsoft's going in. And the interesting, exciting news, especially if you hold any Microsoft stock at the moment, is that Microsoft's market cap has just overtaken Apple's. Now, it's not the first time it's happened, but it's the first time it's happened for nearly 10 years. So super interesting. So, Apple used to be the world's most valuable company. Turns out that Microsoft is now the world's most valuable company. So that is, if you consider where Microsoft was, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, this is really good news. It's kind of underplayed. New Microsoft, they don't want to make a big shout about it, a big scene about it. But it's worth recognising. It's always important to keep the investors happy as well. So this is going to be, good news on good news for Microsoft. They will do well for this, going into kind of all the decisions they have to make and keeping all the investors happy. At the end of the day, such a high market cap position is going to keep those guys happy. So it'd be really interesting. It happened yesterday, so I'm recording this on the 24th of November. Microsoft maintained that lead all the way through the 23rd of November until the end of the trading day. So making that entirely official. I wonder if I could just try and see right now live, which is always a really bad idea, if I could see that's still the case. So let's have a look. So Microsoft's market is, I wonder if I can see it. Let's have a look. So as I record this, Let's have a look. Their market cap is 753.34 billion, which is pretty impressive. And Google's, I don't care about Google's, Apple's, I think Google are a distant, I guess, third, is 746. So Microsoft have extended their lead, so they remain the kind of undisputed leader in this race. So if you follow all that stuff, that's interesting. If you don't, it kind of doesn't matter. It just means that Microsoft, it gives them more freedom really to kind of do the things they want to do. Whilst they're keeping investors happy, they can continue to do all the good things, the softly good things that keep all the rest of us happy as well. So that's good. That's all good. All right. Well, it's coming up to holiday season, Christmas, if you call it that still. What's interesting about that is that it's always the time when all the adverts come out, and Microsoft's holiday ad for this year is kind of interesting. I did a blog post about it, and I thought it was really good, and I thought it was really interesting because there's nothing in there about tech. They're not trying to sell the platform, they're not trying to sell any of the solutions. They're telling a story, and it's all about Xbox. And I don't know anything about Xbox. I don't have an Xbox. I've never owned an Xbox. I'm not very good at video games. I don't have the time. I would like to have the time. I think it's going to be one of those things maybe I do when I retire. Maybe, who knows? Will we still have Xboxes then? I don't know. But anyway, it's a really good advert. You should go and see it. It's a kind of a tearjerker advert. But actually, what's really interesting is that the circumstances that enabled them to put out the advert, which were, very briefly, not to spoil the advert for you, Microsoft have built a special Xbox controller, the adaptive Xbox controller. So it's generally available. I think it might only be US, but still, let's not go crazy. It's called the adaptive controller, and really it's for people with disabilities and whose it just means who can't use the standard Xbox controller for whatever reason. So basically it's like a much bigger controller, and it's got a big D-pad, it's got some touch sensitive pads on it, but it's also got like a bunch of USB in the back, and then they also sell different types of controllers so that you can control different parts of your body, and you can kind of really just build up your own type of controller that fits your abilities and what you're able to do. And this isn't like a niche labs research project. This is something you can buy on the Microsoft store today. So that's huge, because Microsoft are never going to make any money out of this. They just will not sell it in enough quantity to make it worthwhile, but they've decided to do it anyway because it's the right thing to do. Comes back to the market cap. The investors are happy. They can do stuff like this. So this is all around a great story. Obviously it's great marketing as well, and that's where the advert comes in. But I think for me watching it, again, I know nothing about Xbox, nothing to do with, with any of that world, but gave me a really nice, warm, gooey feeling inside to be aligned with a company that is doing this. So that's all good news for me. So go and watch the video. It's a great video, and there's actually 4 videos in the playlist. You can see how it was made. You can see some unboxing of the controller and stuff if you're interested. But yeah, go and watch the video. It's a really nice video. All right, I think that's everything I want to talk about this week. Turns out there's still loads I can still talk, even though there's no news. So who knew? Just shout out though for one more thing that's happening next week on Wednesday. So I, as you know, live in East Anglia, in kind of a rural outpost of the UK. But it turns out we're still quite a techie place. We're one of the tech cities, which is interesting. And this Wednesday we are hosting the DevelopHER Awards 2018, which has happened a couple of times already. It's a fantastic initiative. If you're local, if you're UK based, look it up, DevelopHERawards.com. It's recognising the achievements of women, not just developers, but across all areas of technology. They do an annual awards. I'm going to be going, super excited about it. So my company, Modality Systems, are sponsoring this year as well, which is fantastic. So yeah, if you're around in the region, I believe there's 1 or 2 tickets that have just become available, so you can go and look at that. But if not, just have a look at it anyway. It's a great initiative. Yeah, it's good to see that kind of stuff happening as well. And it's good to know that even out here in Norfolk, in East Anglia, we're able to kind of recognise, diversity and inclusion in this way. Right, I'm nearly at time, so I'm going to say have a great week next week, and speak to you again next time.